As the New York Jets weigh their top candidates for the general manager position, they will begin to call candidates back for second interviews. Who are those candidates? Well, ESPN's Rich Cimini revealed who he thinks will have the most buzz around them as this search comes to an end. We'll break that down and much more, all coming up here on a Sunday afternoon edition of NY Flight Jets Talk.
Jets, Jets, let's go.
Jets wide receiver Wesley Walker. Wesley, how you doing today? ESPN writer Mr. Rich Cimini, Jets reporter for The Athletic, Mr. Zach Rosenblatt, Hall of Famer and Jets legend Mr. Marty Lyons.
Your host, Connor Law.
Hello everyone, and welcome into another edition of NY Flight Jets Talk, Sunday, January 19th. 2025, our second show of the day. If you missed our first show, we were joined by Nick Faria of Athlon Sports. After you're done over here, definitely recommend go back and check it out. Smash the like button. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel on your way in the building. We appreciate all your support. Our goal is 2,000 subscribers by the draft and 3,000 before the 2025 season kicks off for our New York Jets. Currently, we're at 1,384. Subscribe. It is completely free. 21 of you guys in the building right now. Click the like button. 9 likes, 21. Math is not mathing. It's completely free. Hit the like button, and don't forget about our membership raffle. The leaderboard down below. Every membership you gift gets you a ticket into our raffle. The prizes we are raffling off this month include a Garrett Wilson signed mini helmet, Wayne Corbett signed football free item from our merch store, and a channel emoji. And remember, every membership you gift goes to the actual fund for us to provide prizing. So the more memberships you gift, the more exclusive prizes we are able to unlock. I appreciate you all tuning in. If you want to call into the show, click the pinned comment in the chat. Get your questions in the chat. We'll be sure to answer all those. And we'll obviously dive into today's main report. But before we go any further, we're going to say what's up to every single person in the chat. Let's see, our guy Alan Avatal comes in and says, spitting out content, you go 13. Alan, your support means a ton. I appreciate you tuning in. Let's see, our guy John B pops in and he says, McCown 1, Flores 2, McCown 1, Flores 2, Brady 3, McCarthy 4, and Glenn at 5. I think that might be the lowest I've seen Aaron Glenn. I'm going to start with McCown. McCown is definitely either 1 or 2 for me. I just think he has so much upside. You give him the right staff, his leadership, how he's beloved in the building, how many people respect him. I think he's able to be a top head coach in this league. So I'd rather be a year early, take a big swing on McCown than be slapping ourselves in the face when he goes to Miami next year after they fire Mike McDaniel and he's a top coach in this league. I'd rather be a year early than late. Let's see. Flores at number 2. Yeah, I think that makes sense. My concern is now that McCown, it's been made clear, he's not leaving Minnesota unless it's for a head coaching job. My concern with him is, well, who's your OC? During his time in Miami, not only did he alienate players, he was below 500, and he had no offensive stability, went through several offensive line coaches, several offensive coordinators. My first question to Brian Flores in these interviews is, what's your plan in offense? Simple as that. Number 3, Joe Brady. I'm a fan of Joe Brady. Similar to McCown, I think he has a lot of upside. The problem is the Jets requested to interview him, but they never scheduled or completed anything. Seems like a pipe dream at this point. Same goes for McCarthy. Jets have no interest in him. Why not speak to Mike McCarthy? Guy's a Super Bowl winning head coach. Led the Cowboys to 12-5 seasons 3 years in a row. Like, talk to him. What are we doing here? And then Aaron Glenn 5. I think that's a little low. I think you might have overreacted a bit following last night's performance. Let's keep in mind, Aaron Glenn's a leader. Their defense last night was completely decimated. I think they had 11 players placed on IR this season, what they said on the broadcast. And a lot of the points they gave up were points off turnovers. Jared Goff in that offense did not play a great game whatsoever. So let's take a little blame off Aaron Glenn and the Lions defense from last night. Guy Jimmy Jets pops in. Glenn at 5. Someone is overreacting, so we're on the same page there. I think Jimmy's actually in first for our membership raffle with 40 gifted memberships on the month. Get into our raffle. The more tickets you have, the better chance you have winning our Wayne Corbett signed football or Garrett Wilson signed mini helmet, a free item from my merch store, and a channel emoji, so be sure to get on that. Our guy Jeffrey R is a channel member, comes in and says, for me, Flores, Glenn, McCarthy, McCown, Brady. I can understand that. For me, it is I'm going to throw McCown at 1. I'd go McCown 1, Glenn 2, Flores 3. That's probably my top 3 there. I think McCarthy and Brady are pipe dreams at this point. Jeffrey, the problem is, Adam Schefter of ESPN reported that McCown is not leaving Minnesota unless it's for a head coaching job, which seems a little petty. I mean, the guy's a quarterback coach. Let's be real here. I'm a huge fan of McCown. He's one of the there's never been a person I've heard say McCown is not a great guy. But I mean, come on, let's go through the real process. The real process in the NFL to become a head coach is positional coach, coordinator, then head coach. I think he's getting a little too big for his britches at this point, saying he will not leave for a coordinator job. Let's see, where are we? Harlan Abraham coming in. Howdy, folks. Harlan, good to see you in the chat. I appreciate you tuning in. Where are we? Oh, Jets Worldwide. Our guy Snowball is a channel member. Comes in and says, the hustle is real. Go Connor. Snowball, I appreciate you tuning in. Let's go. Harlan says, subscribe and the like button is smashed. Harlan, I appreciate it. Every time you like the video, propels the content to more people on YouTube, which I think is awesome. And it's completely free. I mean, 37 of you guys watching right now on YouTube, 13 likes. Come on. It's completely free. Hit the like, and if you haven't subscribed already, hit subscribe. It helps the channel grow a ton. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Wild Wave, Connor. Wild Wave, good to see you in the chat. Let's see. Where are we? Caden. Can we get a coach already? God damn. I think a GM will be here by some point mid this week, and I think we can coach in the building a week or two from now. I think that's a safe assumption to make. I do think they hire a GM this week, at least hopefully. Jimmy, is McCarthy done without a good QB? I mean, you could argue Dak Prescott isn't like an elite quarterback. He's a very, very smart decision maker. He's not particularly elite, though. He's also, I think the biggest thing that is interesting for fans is he had success in Dallas with a meddling owner. As much as we hate Woody Johnson, Jerry Jones is worse than Woody Johnson. I think we could all agree on that. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Kaden, are we going to have a GM by tomorrow? LOL. Not tomorrow. I'd say Wednesday or Thursday is when they actually officially hire a GM. I appreciate you all tuning in. Keep your questions coming. We'll be sure to get all your questions and comments here on the show. If you want to call in, click the pinned comment in the chat. But let's get to the report, the main report of today's show. It came by way of our guy, Rich Cimini of ESPN, great friend of the show. He's been on a ton. He was appearing on ESPN New York Radio yesterday, and he dished out the three candidates he thinks are going to have the most buzz surrounding them as the Jets kind of narrow down their list to 3 or 4 finalists for the general manager position. Let's take a listen.
As far as the GM search, they have interviewed 15 candidates.
Wow.
And I think, by far the most out of the 3 teams that were looking for GMs. One, of course, Tennessee found their GM. And so it's just the Jets and the Raiders now. And so the Jets are at the point now where they will pare down this list to a small number and then have a second round of interviews. So that's the point. And I expect that to happen like at any time now. So I think these second interviews will probably start occurring very soon. And it's difficult to get a gauge on who might be those second round interviews, but just from talking to agents and people, industry sources, the guys getting the most buzz with regard to this are Mike Greenberg from the Bucks, John Eric Sullivan from the Packers, Alec Hallaby from the Eagles. Those are the 3 names that keep popping up the most. So we'll see. We'll find out who these finalists are probably within the next 24 hours, I would think.
I don't even know what to say to those 3 names. What we've seen with all these, reports surrounding the Jets GM search, I mean, let's be honest. There's only a few people that know what's happening and how these interviews are going. The few people are Rick Spielman, Mike Tannenbaum, Woody Johnson, because those are the people in the video. Oh, and Jaime Eli alongside Chris Johnson. Those are the people in the interview rooms. Other than that, I think it's safe to say none of us have a clear understanding how these interviews are going. And you want to know what's so interesting? There's so many, it's like a new day, a new report in terms of what the Jets are interested in. Remember, just last week it was, Grigson is GM, Brian Flores is head coach, McCown is OC. Pretty much seems like a done deal right now. Well, first off, McCown, it was reported already McCown's not taking an OC job. Grigson, his name was hot in Jets land for 2 days, and then boom. I haven't heard his name in a few days now. And then now it's like the Jets were so big on, we want someone who's done the job before. We're prioritizing experience. Yet Cimini goes ahead and says the 3 candidates he expects the Jets to view and target as finalists, all 3 of them are first-timers in Mike Greenberg, Alec Hallaby, and John Eric Sullivan. I placed Greenberg in my B tier for my GM list, courtesy of Jets X Factor. I placed Hallaby in my C tier, and I placed Eric Sullivan in my C tier as well. All three are first timers, so we really don't know how involved they are. That's the problem. I guess the first candidate we'll get into is Mike Greenberg. He's connected to the Jets the most. He grew up a Jet fan, which I think is really cool. He grew up on Long Island. Funny part is he was a football administration intern in 2008, 2009 under Mike Tannenbaum, who was obviously the GM of the Jets, and now he's assisting with the search. So let's see if that gives him a leg up. He's in his second season as the Bucs assistant general manager. Been with them for 15 years. He's known to be a cap guy. He's the cap expert under their general manager, Jason Licht. He's on the younger side too, which I guess which I like. The problem is he lacks general experience as a general manager. He is the only first-time candidate, though. I would view it as an above-average hire. I think it's cool to have someone who not only has a ton of experience, he's been with the Bucs for 15 years. They've done great things with the cap, kind of reviving their organization, whether it's helping orchestrate that great deal with Mike Evans to bring him back, Baker Mayfield, Antoine Winfield Jr. I think Greenberg has the potential to be a solid general manager. So he's one of the only first-time hires I'd approve of. Still doesn't excite me as much as a Thomas Dimitroff, a Brian Gaines. So I'd probably put him in that B tier for an above-average hire. But the other two candidates, Samini expects the Jets to target John Eric Sullivan. His name has been on the come up recently because Brian Gutekunst, the Packers general manager, spoke to reporters, and when asked about JES, he basically responded, quote, "He will be missed," which is really fascinating because the jobs he's interviewed for the Titans job, they hired Borgonzi, interviewed for the Jets job, and the Raiders requested to interview him, but they never completed the interview. So was there something leaked there? We don't know. But Eric Sullivan's really interesting. Started his career as an executive 2004 with the Packers. All of his experience at the NFL level as an executive come with the Packers, worked his way up. I think he started as a Central Plains regional scout. Now he's their vice president of player personnel, a role he's been in since 2022. Some interesting notes here. Albert Breer, Sports Illustrated, reported a few months ago that he actually played a pivotal role in the search that landed Matt LaFleur as their head coach, and he was the first scout to put quarterback Jordan Love on their general manager Brian Gutekunst's radar, which I think is really cool. So most of his experience comes as a talent evaluator, but Breer noted he helped in that head coach search, and he also said he's done some limited work with the salary cap, which I think is pretty interesting. So that's like kind of the backstory on Greenberg and John Eric Sullivan. As for the last one, Alec Hallaby, we went in depth about Hallaby on my morning show with Nick Faria because Nick's a big Eagles fan. So we spoke about, what does his role exactly look like? Is he ready for the position? I'll make a long story short. He has a really fascinating story with the organization. He's been with them for 17 seasons. Started as an intern and has worked his way all the way up now to their assistant general manager. He's Howie Roseman's right-hand man. He is what I'd call a newer, like generational kind of GM if he were to get a general manager job, just because he is gung-ho on analytics. He's an analytical wizard at his age. At his age, he's an analytical wizard. He's in his 30s. He's, again, similar to McCown. He's someone I'd rather be a year early on than a year late. And he's all in on analytics, which I think is very important. But at the same time, I don't want to be too analytical. Like, I think there's something to still be said for the eye test, for sure. Like, I want a balance of film and analytics. I would rather lean more analytics than film at this point where we are as the NFL is kind of shifting into the more modern era, but still, I don't want someone who's just centered around analytics. Howie Roseman apparently relies on him a ton, which I think is awesome. So he's working under Howie Roseman. Roseman said he reminds him a lot of himself, and we all know Howie Roseman is one of, if not the best general manager in all of football. So if you could draw any sort of parallel between Alec Hallaby and Howie Roseman, I think that's a great sign. Something I noticed between these three candidates, the only head coach candidate the Jets have interviewed that has ties to one of these guys is Jeff Hafley, Packers defensive coordinator, who's tied to John Eric Sullivan. Other than that, none of the head coach candidates Greenberg has been linked to. Jets requested, scheduled, or completed an interview with none of them. Same for Alec Hallaby. So John Eric Sullivan with Jeff Hafley, that's, I can say, a sneaky regime to potentially watch, but that is not exciting for me at all. Two first-time guys in the role. First off, Hafley's not exciting whatsoever. He's not captivating. He's not compelling. I mean, he's in his first season with the Packers as their defensive coordinator. Yes, they had a great year, but still, it's one season. I don't know why we would want to roll a dice on a first-time NFL head coach who had one okay season as a defensive coordinator. He was at Boston College as their head coach for 4 seasons, I think it was. Yet 2020 to 2023, he went 22-26. That's not inspiring whatsoever. What happened to going after an Aaron Glenn? What happened to going after a Josh McCown, a Joe Brady? What happened to that if you're just going to settle for Jeff Hafley? Jeff Hafley's at the bottom of my list. I would put him right up there with like an Arthur Smith or a Darren Rizzi. That's how low I have him. I'm really not interested in going with a defensive coordinator who had one okay season at the NFL level. That's not okay with me whatsoever. Not settling for Jeff Hafley. And then I was thinking maybe if they hire Eric Sullivan, he has direct ties to Mike McCarthy. And I asked Nick this question. He said he couldn't see it happening, but he said to not rule something out. Let's say the Jets go ahead and hire John Eric Sullivan and say, hey, you haven't spoken to Mike McCarthy, but I would love for him to be my head coach. Then you could potentially pair those two together. Kind of in arranged, not even an arranged marriage. I mean, they had a connection in Green Bay, which I think is awesome. If you give me McCarthy and John Eric Sullivan, I think that could be exciting. Because you have Mike McCarthy, he's a Super Bowl winning head coach above 500 and led the Cowboys to 3 straight 12-5 seasons. There's something to be said for that. You give me Eric Sullivan and McCarthy, I'd be fine. Alec Calaby, Kellen Moore is the head coach, the hot candidate, the hot name, the offensive coordinator out of Philly. Maybe the Jets interview him after they show some interest in Halaby. Just nothing inspiring out of those 3 names to me. And then Greenberg literally has ties to no one the Jets have interviewed because they haven't requested Liam Cohen, and no one, no one the Jets have interviewed or is connected to Mike Greenberg, which I think could be scary at times. As for John Eric Sullivan, here's a funny nugget: if John Eric Sullivan becomes the Jets general manager, for all of you guys who hate Aaron Rodgers and want him out, like me, you'll be happy because he has a horrible relationship with the Packers front office. Especially, it was noted, especially Gutekunst and Eric Sullivan. So Eric Sullivan comes in the building. Aaron Rodgers is out the door, which I think is one of the positive side of things. If you bring in John Eric Sullivan, smash the like button. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Appreciate all of your support. 48 of you guys in the building. 24 likes, guys. Come on. It's completely free. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. They both help the show grow a ton. And they are completely free, so please do it. It would mean the world. Appreciate all your support. Let's keep it going with your questions. Keep the questions rolling in. If you want to call in, click the pinned comment in the chat. We had some great call-ins the past few shows. So if you want to join in on the conversation, click the pinned comment in the chat. You will come right up on the screen. Caden comes in with his 1-month super chat and says, yes, Caden, I don't know what you're talking about here. Could you give some clarification in the chat and what you're directly inferring to here? Appreciate it. Chris J comes in with a $2 super chat. That's a raffle ticket for you. Chris, I appreciate it. 2 shows this morning. Yes, sir. I saw this report and I'm like, boom, I got to hop on here and give my opinion on what Samini is saying about going with 3 first-time general managers as top finalists for the position. Done with it. Let's see, where'd we leave off? A lot of you guys like Dimitrov, which I think is awesome. Wildwave says that like Sullivan or Newmark. Newmark, he spent 28 years with the Lions, which is great. He's in his first season with the Commanders. I want to see 1 more year of him. I'm not too fond on jumping the gun right away with someone like him, especially since he's not one of the younger analytical guys. Like I would take Alec Halaby and Mike Greenberg over Lance Newmark. Thomas Dimitrov from Jeffrey. Thomas Dimitrov from Caden. A lot of people want Thomas Dimitrov, which I think is awesome. Jeffrey says Grigson sucks. Grigson does not have the pulse of the fan base whatsoever. I mean, it's easy to look at him and say, well, he ended Andrew Luck's career. He traded the first-round pick for Trent Richardson. If you want to get excited about Dimitrov, I think this scenario with the GM's record could be a little misleading, but look at his record. He never had a losing season, brought a team to the AFC Championship game, drafted Andrew Luck, drafted T.Y. Hilton. Like, there are some positives. Let's see. Caden says, yeah, Greenberg is going to be our GM. It's either going to be Greenberg or Eric Sullivan. I think those are the 2 guys the Jets are really, really going to go full throttle on. Jimmy says Dimitrov, Gain, and Newmark. Love Dimitrov, love Gain. Like I said, I'm not completely sold on Newmark. Jeffrey says, I can assure you of the GM. I can assure you this of the GM and head coach. One will have experience, if not both. I hope. Unless it's like Josh McCown and Alec Halaby, I want one of them to at least have experience. Unless you just want to literally take a swing for the fences with Alec Halaby and Josh McCown, I want one of them to have experience. Caden, breaking news, Jets hire no one. Jets retain Phil Savage as general manager, promote tight ends coach Ron Middleton to head coach. They can't promote Jeff Olbrich anymore after he had the third highest odds. He's now in Atlanta as their defensive coordinator. Good for him though. John Eric Sullivan is the only one of those three with true scouting experience. That's true because Hallaby's just a full-on analytical wizard. Greenberg's only cap. I'd say Sullivan is the most versatile, / experienced at all of them, just because what Bruce said, he's basically a full talent evaluator. He's a scout. That's how he got into his role as vice president of player personnel. He played a role in the search that landed Matt LaFleur, and he has some experience working with the cap alongside Gutekunst. I think that's captivating if you look at Sullivan, his overall resume. Although he's not a first timer, he's been in a lot of different roles. Where are we? Harlan, being a talent evaluator is important. Also, having something to do with salary cap is good too. So yeah, you seem like out of those three guys, you'd probably want Eric Sullivan. You probably want John Eric Sullivan because he has experience working with the cap. He's the first guy to put Jordan Love on Gutekunst's radar. And he played a role in the coaching search, so you seem like a JES guy as well. Jeffrey, I'm betting of the GMs two will be hired. I'm all for if you want to. I could see a world where you give Alec Hallaby the general manager job, and then Thomas Dimitrov comes in as vice president of football ops, or you bring him as director of college scouting, something like that. I could see a world where the Jets do something like that, similar to what the Panthers did a few years back. I could see the Jets potentially going that route. Harlan, McCown may not be bad for a head coach. Not at all. This team has been awful for 14 years. This team has not made the playoffs in 14 years. Let's put the 14 years behind us. We want to go ahead and win a Super Bowl. Could the Jets hire Matt Nagy and sneak into the playoffs 9-8 the next 3 seasons and lose 40-0 in Buffalo the first round? Yes, but that's not exciting for me. Take a big swing on McCown. His floor might be very low. His floor might not be as high as Brian Flores, but his ceiling is by far the highest out of anyone. I say he has the lowest floor and the highest ceiling, which at this point, why not take a huge swing? Because if you hit on him, you're winning a Super Bowl, or at least you're making an AFC Championship. You're making a deep push in the playoffs. Wildwave says Brady needs to go with his boy Spytech. You see them both going to Las Vegas, Wildwave? I think it's going to be Johnson and Newmark in Vegas. Let's see. Italian Eddie Ralph, I appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate your support on the program. Ace of Spade, McCarthy's offense is outdated. Aren't we going with a more modern offense? Not if you bring in a younger, up-and-coming offensive coordinator like Tanner Engstrand, who can potentially, he's been around the Lions staff forever. He has experience calling plays. You can implement a more modern-day offense if you bring McCarthy in as kind of that CEO guy who has head coaching experience, and then you rely on a more, Tanner Engstrand, younger, modern offense. I could see that. Whoo, Caden comes in with a hot take. Ron Rivera, I want his head coach. I've been called crazy for saying this. Let me just be clear. I never said I wanted him. I said he was better than Rex Ryan. That's true. I could see why some people might like him, though. Last coach in 2023 with the Commanders, 102 and 103 record, 2-time coach of the year. Inherited a 2-14 team before bringing them to the playoffs 4 out of the next 5 consecutive seasons. There's a lot to like in Rivera. I just don't see why people aren't grasping it. Eddie Ralph wants Aaron Glenn. Fan base kind of seems to be split there. Frozen Squirrel comes in and says, bring Rodgers back. I can go on and on why Rodgers shouldn't come back. There's a few things that need to happen. First, the new regime is going to want him. I don't know why anyone would want him back. He's going to have to take a massive pay cut. And even if he takes a massive pay cut, here's the thing. The pro trade, I'll read it. I explained it to Wildwave in the Discord. If you guys aren't in the Discord, by the way, check it out in the description down low. We have great daily Jets discussions. Be sure to join that. And then be sure to check out our merch store in the link down below. I appreciate it. Smash the like button as well. 38 of you in the building. 27 likes. Come on, guys. We could do this. Let's get to 40 likes by the end of the show. Where did I do it? So, here's what I have. Let's see if this is what I wrote. If Rodgers and the Jets agreed to lower his option bonus to $22.5 million because his salary is $2.5 million, that would spread the $4.5 million in dead cap evenly across the next 5 years, 2025 plus 4 void years. Because of his previous bonuses, that would make Rodgers cap at $21 million, saving the Jets $2.5 million in 2025. So here's the thing: even if Rodgers agreed to take some sort of pay cut, The pro trade signing bonus, that basically is the reason they're going to owe him $49 or $63 million, depending on when they move on from him, has been already paid. So even if you restructure his deal, you're basically just pushing that down the road, which is even worse. Because what GM is going to want to come in and have to pay Aaron Rodgers through 2027? Nobody is going to want to do that. Cut him pre-June 1, eat all $49 million next season, call it a bad move and move on. We can't have this drag into 2026 and 2027, where we are planning on drafting a quarterback and developing our future. Let's see. Caden will play the Falcons on our schedule next season, so we'll see how good Ulbricht's defense is. Here's the thing: he's a defensive coordinator under a defensive-minded coach in Raheem Morris, who's basically running the defense. So it's basically like getting. I'll draw a comp. It's like Adam Stenavich, the Packers offensive coordinator under Matt LaFleur, Wes Phillips under Kevin O'Connell. So he doesn't really have much of a big role. Eric Bieniemy under Andy Reid, Matt Nagy under Andy Reid. So I don't think he has much say here. Chase of Sports News comes in. He says, how much will a GM really have, though, under a dysfunctional owner? Here's the thing, Chase. Woody Johnson hasn't meddled when he's trusted his people. This is the first time Woody Johnson has meddled this past season, when he felt things were going wrong and he had to come in and act quick. Woody Johnson does not have a reputation for meddling. His reputation around the league is sitting back and letting people do their jobs. That's his reputation around the league. One season after things began to go off the rails, after he decided to keep Saleh and Douglas, he acted quick and he fired them. One of the first question that I think every GM and head coach candidate is going to say in that meeting is that interview: I'll take this job, but you have to give me full autonomy over the organization. I think that is going to be one of the important things if you want to land a Thomas Dimitroff, if you want to land a Mike Greenberg, a Brian Gain, a top candidate for this position, and Aaron Glenn, a Josh McCown, a Joe Brady. Those are the questions they're going to ask, and you have to be prepared. Caden says, who's our assistant GM right now? Our assistant GM, they technically don't have one after they got rid of Rex Hogan last offseason because Woody Johnson didn't let Joe Douglas replace him with anyone. Technically Phil Savage because he's their interim GM. Let's see. Highlight Haven says, what's up, Connor? Great show. Highlight Haven, I appreciate you tuning in. Alan comes in and says, Connor, please speak to Scott Chadwick, current director of recruiting at the University of Maryland. He was the Myers Park High School head coach when McCown was there. They're speaking to anyone with a clipboard, Alan, except Super Bowl winners. He hasn't won a Super Bowl, so might as well bring him in. Let's see. This is what I meant, Wild Wave. I'm sorry, I meant to correct myself. As of late, he's begun to meddle because he started not to trust Douglas and Saleh. I think we can agree on that. Prior to really 2022, prior to the Zach Wilson pick, under Adam Gase, under Todd Bowles, Mike McCagnon was the GM, John Isdick was the GM, Tannenbaum, Rex. Going all the way back to then, Woody Johnson was not known to meddle. That's what I meant to say. Yeah. Starting with the Zach pick, things begin to get a little crazy. But I think he brings in people he seriously trusts, and people who are going to tell him, no, you need to let me do my job. I don't think he's going to meddle much more. Let's see, where were we? Jerome Stacks tuning in, a channel member, Glenn Flores or McCown, and I'll be happy. I'm fine with all three of those candidates. Caden says, I'll be back. I'm going to walk my dog. Hopefully you're still live, Caden. Appreciate you tuning in. Teresa Ice, channel member, comes in and says, I missed the first 8 minutes. Are the three candidates for GM that are being interviewed? Who is being interviewed? No, they've already been interviewed. Rich Samini, Teresa, expects them to be finalists for the position and come back for second interviews. Those three candidates are John Eric Sullivan, the Packers vice president of player personnel, Alec Hallaby, the assistant GM for Howie Roseman over in Philly, and Mike Greenberg, the assistant GM under Jason Licht in Tampa Bay. So those are the three candidates there. Soink Nation channel member comes in and says, Alec Hallaby is definitely A-tier material. I can't put him in my A-tier just because he doesn't have GM experience. If he had GM experience and was a winner, sure. But we still don't know what he is. We don't know how high his ceiling is. We don't know how low his floor is. That's the issue. And we know what it looks like with other candidates. From what we've seen, Thomas Dimitroff, a lot of fans want him. They want to covet him. Ryan Grigson, we know what he's like as a GM. A lot of fans want to avoid him. So I think that's one of the biggest things, knowing how high the ceiling is and how low the floor is. As you evaluate general manager candidates, smash the like button. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. I appreciate you all tuning in. We're going to wrap up here shortly. Last chance to get in our membership raffle. membership you gift gets you a ticket into our raffle. Garrett Wilson signed mini helmet, Wangerbet signed football, free item from our merch store, and a channel emoji. We have all of the leaderboards down below. I think Jimmy Jets is currently leading the way. So remember, like I said earlier, every membership you gift not only gets you a raffle ticket, gives you a better chance to win, but you guys control the prize pool, basically. So depending on how much you gift, it allows us to unlock exclusive prizes. That's the paid way to support the show. The free way that also helps just as much, smashing the like button and subscribing to the channel. 35 of you in the building, 29 likes. So 6 of you still have not liked the video yet. Please do it. It helps us grow a ton. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. 2,000 subscribers by the draft, 3,000 by the start of the season. That's the goal. We're at 1,387. Let's go. Keep getting that subscriber count up. Appreciate you all tuning in. Just thought I'd pop in here for a quick little 30-minute show. Give you my thoughts on Samini's report. This is your last chance to call into the show if you want in on the conversation with the pinned comment in the chat. And last chance to get your questions in. Yeah, same here, Wildwave. I thought they were going to interview him, Will McClay, the vice president of player personnel in Dallas, because he plays a huge role in their draft process. I'm surprised they didn't give him an interview. I'm surprised they didn't give John Dorsey an interview. I'm surprised they didn't give Ray Agnew an interview. They interviewed a lot of candidates I didn't expect. Like, I would never have expected them to interview Jim Nagy. I would have never, like, Ray Farmer wouldn't have expected that. So some surprising candidates. Alan says, I don't think McClay wants to leave Dallas. He's my friend's neighbor. Want me to knock? Yeah, go knock on his door and ask him if he'll take the Jets job. I would personally really like Will McClay for this for the Jets role. I want someone who, even if they don't have GM experience, someone like John Eric Sullivan, who's played a role in a head coach search, is primarily a talent evaluator, but also knows what it's like to work with the cap. I don't want someone who's a strict talent evaluator. I don't want someone who is strictly focused on analytics. I don't want someone who's strictly a cap guy. I want some versatility here. That's the biggest thing. And they make 2 hires I would be perfectly fine with. Let's say you make Alec Halaby the GM, Thomas Dimitrov, director of college scouting, director of pro scouting, vice president of football ops, something like that. I'd be fine with that. And who knows, after this search, maybe you get Rick Spielman or Mike Tannenbaum to join the organization in some sort of, not even an ambassador, a consulting role or one of those director of college scouting type roles. Like, so much could happen. Like I said, I'm going to wrap up here shortly, so smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, last chance to get in on the raffle. Wangerbet signed football, Garrett Wilson signed mini helmet, free item from the merch store, and a channel emoji. So the leaderboard's down below. We're going to raffle off the prizes at the end of the month. So last chance to get in on today's show. Dylan Terraman comes in of Jet Nation, an absolute legend. He's a channel member. He joined me a few weeks ago, says, what's up, Connor? Well, DT will actually be back on with me Wednesday night, I think we said. So stay tuned for that. Dylan's always a great time. Check out his work on Twitter at DTerraman. Read his work, jetnation.com. Great Jet stuff. I think he's showing me, I think he does a play chart for literally every single game. I think he's charted almost every single snap this season. He does such great work. Such great work. So be sure to check out Dylan's stuff. We're going to wrap up here soon. Get your final thoughts in the chat. Last chance to call in, pin comment. Get your final thoughts in. Smash the like button, subscribe. It helps the show tremendously as we continue to try to grow this community, which means a lot. Dylan says, appreciate you, brother. Excited for Wednesday. Dylan, have a great rest of your day. Hope to see you soon. All right, we're going to wrap up here shortly. Just about to hit the 35-minute mark. 41 of you in the building. 41 of you. Wow, this show is really starting to grow. This show is really starting to grow, which means a lot. And it's thanks to you guys. For those who are smashing the like button, for those who are subscribing to the channel. It really helps us grow. If you want to come in for exclusive channel updates, latest Jets news, daily Jets discussions, join our Discord in the link in the description. Great stuff there, and check out our merch store. Some great merch items for Life Like Jets Talk. If you want to rep the show, it would mean a lot. Swink Nation comes in. We'll end on this one. Where did Samini report the finalists? I'll throw the link in here. Boy Green clipped it from his appearance on ESPN Radio. I'll throw the link in here to where he where Boy Green clipped it. Here we go. Boom. I just threw it in the chat. I appreciate you all tuning in. We're going to wrap up here. Enjoy the 2 games today. I think the first game's Eagles, Rams. Second game, I think, is going to be the game of the year, and Ravens, Bills. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the games. And as always, JTS, Jets, Jets, Jets.